So it's been kind of an active week for us this week. Bad news about A.J. Levis. We were very hopeful, that he was going to be able to recover from the arm soreness that he's had since the latter part of last year. But he'd take one step forward, two steps back, and that's just kind of the way it's been. It's been very similar with Mikhail Hilliard, and so we've been concerned that perhaps Mikhail would have the same fate that AJ experienced, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Mikhail's going to throw today. He's been feeling great, so we're going to be very hopeful. But AJ had surgery yesterday afternoon. We think the surgery was very successful. He had his shoulder scoped. I don't want to get into the medical terms about it, but we expect him to make a full recovery and be able to resume throwing at some point, but he'll be out for this season. So that puts two of our pitchers on the shelf along with Nick Storrs. We have some hope that Nick could be back by late April or early May. We'll see. But obviously with losing AJ, who was a freshman All-American last year, it's a pretty big blow for us. But I do think that we have the pitching to be able to overcome it, and the depth, the quality and the depth to overcome it. And my only concern now is just for AJ's health and that he recover. Another newsworthy topic I think everybody saw is that we're reinstating Chris Reid to the team. He will begin practicing tomorrow. I couldn't say anything about it until today because he had to go through the process of NCAA eligibility, be certified, meet with our compliance people, and then have a medical exam, which just happened. So he's going to join the team tomorrow. He's finishing up doing some things, and he'll be in the inter-squad game tomorrow and back in his old locker wearing number 17. And in all honesty, when I broke the news to the team yesterday afternoon, there were a lot of smiles and a lot of happy people that Chris was being reinstated to the team. I know a lot of people were probably disappointed when we made the decision last summer, but I have to tell you that probably the most difficult aspect of my job is managing this roster since they put the rule in 10 years ago. In fact, we're on the 10-year anniversary of this limited 35-man roster. I really don't like the rule. I think all it does is prevent opportunities for young men to be a part of the team. And when you combine the limitation of 35-man with all we have to deal with the professional draft, both with kids coming out of high school as well as players on your team that are eligible for the draft but yet still have eligibility remaining with LSU, trying to hit the nail on the head and be exactly at 35 with 27 on scholarship, with 11.7 scholarships, you'd have to be Houdini to be able to hit it right on the head. We were very fortunate with the draft last June, and we were able to hold on to probably 4 or 5 pitchers or position players that I thought we had a very good chance of losing. Specifically Landon Marceau, Jaden Hill, Cole Henry, Chase Costello, C.J. Willis. I thought there was a chance we were going to lose all of those guys, and the positive is that we held on to them. The negative is that it makes the 35-man roster very precarious to be able to negotiate. So it was a disappointing day when I talked to Chris last August, and obviously he was disappointed. I think the world of Chris, and I think he's contributed in an awfully big way to our team. Even though the last 2 years he wasn't a starting player, he's a tremendous teammate. And so when I called him a couple of days ago to ask him if he would consider rejoining the program and finishing up his career, there were some things that he had to work through, emotionally, mentally, and logistically. But now he's made the decision to rejoin the team, and I couldn't be happier. I honestly was very concerned about the depth on the left side of the infield. I'm really high on Drew Bianco and Gavin Dugan. I think they're going to be really nice players in our program, but I'm concerned about their readiness to play defensively on the left side of the infield. I think we're going to be fantastic with Hal Hughes at third and Josh Smith at short, but what happens if there's an injury? What happens if it's long-term or short-term? What if I wanted to give either of them a blow in either a blowout game or a day off or something? Or what if I needed to make a strategic move to pinch run or to pinch hit for somebody? I really didn't feel like we had an adequate backup for the left side of the infield. So I know Chris Reid can make the routine plays, and I know he'll give you a professional at bat. And so him coming back to the team gives me a lot of peace of mind, knowing that the depth, especially on the left side of the infield, will be of quality that we need to have. So, it was a tough decision to make room for him, because you never like to, hurt anybody, but for the good of our team and our prospects going forward, I just thought it was a decision that we had to make. And on the other hand, I'm really excited about having Chris back. I think he, I hate to say I made a mistake with the decision because my intentions were good, but we rectified a situation probably that shouldn't have happened in the first place. And, I'm man enough to say that I made a mistake there, and I wanted him to come back. And fortunately, Chris accepted it, and I'm looking forward to having him back out here on the field.
You think he can help even with not having played since last spring? You think he can still come in and help?
I think Chris could not play for 10 years and step up to the plate and put the bat on the ball and make a routine play. We have better athletes on our team, but I'm not sure we have anybody that just has the natural skills that a baseball player needs any better than Chris. He's actually, when I met with him, he's actually in really good shape. He said he's been doing playing a lot of basketball, and he's been giving hitting lessons to young kids and coaching a 13-year-old team. So he's been around the game. He's throwing a lot. He's hitting a lot, and he's in pretty good shape. So my guess is 2 weeks will be plenty for Chris, maybe even more than needed for him to be ready to go.
Paul, you didn't talk much about a closer and a bullpen. I know that kind of works itself out during the season, but do you have in mind who might be a setup guy?
Well, Jim, I think first of all, I talked about the starting rotation, and the only reason there's any doubt about the starting rotation is because of the quality of guys, the amount of guys that we have. Coming out of the fall practice, I would have said Landon Marceau was a slam dunk to be in the rotation. But since we've been back, let me tell you, Jaden Hill has improved 1,000%. And I never saw Cole Henry throw in the fall because he was nursing an injury, to his arm that he had come to LSU from high school with. Now I'm seeing him throw. Oh my goodness, it's electric stuff. And so now there's some competition for that other job. And Eric Walker is going to have to be really good. And so I think, and then there's one last thing that is a little bit of a concern of mine right now is Zach Hess just running in the outfield doing conditioning one day kind of tweaked his groin. And so he ended up only throwing 1 inning the first day of practice when we had our media day, and he's not throwing today. And so I've completely shut him down for 4 or 5 days. I don't want him doing anything but treatment. We tried to get him to throw this week, and it kind of aggravated it again. So we're going to just shut him down and try to make him, just totally asymptomatic. Is that the proper word? Before we have him throw again. And, I'm hoping that he's going to be ready to go for opening day, but I have a little bit of concern that may not happen. So, if he's ready to go next Friday with his normal turn, it'll only really be one solid outing before opening day. So I don't even expect him to go very deep into the game on opening day, even if he's able to pitch. But there's a chance he may not even be able to pitch on opening day because of that groin, that I guess you would call it a strain to his groin. So what I'm saying to you is once you figure out who your rotation is, then everybody else kind of falls into place with their roles. But I don't really expect, except for knowing that Todd Peterson's going to be at the end of the game, I don't really expect to decide on who is going to be our 100% our rotation going into Kentucky until at least after the first 2 weeks of the season. Right now the plan is if Hess was ready and Walker's looking good enough to pitch on the weekend as well, and say Marceau did pitch on Saturday, then Cole Henry and Jaden Hill are going to start the midweek games for the first 2 weeks. So we'll go with like a 5-man rotation, and then after 2 weeks, kind of let the dust settle and say, okay, what's our best combination, and then fit guys in the roles at that point.
Yeah, I guess how would you compare your depth and pitching staff this year compared to last year?
Well, we haven't started the season yet, and you're only an injury or two from everything changing. It's amazing how fragile things can be, Brody. 2 days ago, Antoine woke up with a stiff back, and now today will be his 3rd consecutive day of not practicing. Drew Bianco the other day dove for a ball trying to make a catch and strained his hamstring. So we only have 12 position players today to get through a scrimmage, and one of them is strictly a DH in Garza. So we don't have 3 defensive players not in the starting 8. So I got 5 managers playing in the inter-squad scrimmage today. Can you believe that? So it just can be very, very fragile. So you hate to say, oh man, this is the deepest pitching staff we've ever had, because knock on wood, you're only an injury or 2 from everything changing. Even Hess's strained groin changes the whole dynamic of what you have. But if everybody's healthy and throws the way that they can, especially with the addition of these freshmen that I just spoke about, we could have a good deep pitching staff this year, as deep as we've ever had.
Just need another Austin Bain.
Boy, I wish I had him for one more year. When he something last year, I kept asking myself, why wasn't I smart enough in 17 to figure out that he could play first base? He might have been the missing link for our team to win it all in 17, and I wish I had him now in 19.